Good evening, everyone. My name is Promise Odera One, and today we want to look at customs and borders control. What should be the best practices today on customs and borders control, or border and customs control, any way you like to put it. And we'll try to provide solutions to Nigeria. Excuse me. So I think that a lot of issues that we have in Nigeria are all tied into the customs and borders control. And just with any topic and you want to treat, there is always that link, between one issue and the other. You could link the custom and border control to inefficiencies of our security services, as well as insecurity and insurgency, as well as other things like oil theft and everything. So what should be the best practices? You see, although Nigeria is bordered by, I think, about 4 to 5 countries or more, if I'm not mistaken. We have Chad, Benin Republic, we have Cameroon, we have Niger, I think there's more, and all of them French speaking. So we know that petrol, for example, or PMS, sells for much higher in these countries than what it sells in Nigeria. So it's a more lucrative business for companies or whoever sells petrol in these African countries. And now NNPC says they're going to open branches there. So what does that mean for Nigerians? Excuse me. So I think either today or yesterday, I think today, the newspapers carried that about 62 people have been killed in Zamfara and Sokoto. 62 have been killed in Zamfara and Sokoto. And that shows you something. That tells you a lot. We still have a lot of insecurity, a lot of issue with our security in Nigeria. That we're losing almost 62 people in Sokoto and Zamfara. Now, if that is the case, how do we start to look into our security, and how do we start to look into the oil theft, which have caused a lot of harm to the point that Nigerians don't have money? NNPC don't remit money to governors. So at the same time, the whole subsidy claim that people are now beginning to unveil, we're finding out there's so many issues with that. Nobody understands all of this. It's purely because the customs and borders of Nigeria are not accountable. They're not giving us proper account of what is going on with goods that are coming in and what is leaving our shores. So when you look into all this, you'll find out that there's a lot of loopholes that needs to be covered if Nigeria must make progress. If somebody wants to deal with illicit drug business, right, how easy is that person to bring it into Nigeria? For example, if somebody wants to bring in stolen cars from other African countries, how easy is it for that person to bring it in? These issues are not peculiar to Nigeria as a country. We know there are countries like America who share land borders with countries like Mexico, and a lot of cocaine drugs and all of that hard drugs that are being sold in America are coming from all these countries they share land borders with. But then you know that the FBI and other narcotics agencies are always on top of their game to make sure they fish out, start from the top to fish out these people, these organized crime cartels, and that way stop or limit their business ventures. Of course, you can't eradicate crime entirely, but at least you're curbing them, right? Now, when we look at the border of Nigeria shares about 4.5 kilometers, if I'm not mistaken, land borders. We don't have any walls, so it's not like we're building any walls like President Trump tried to build. If you do it these days, people will even tag you racist or whatever. Now, our customs are not equipped enough to even man these places. It's not like we have enough of manpower and sophisticated, technologies to man our, entire borders. So how do we manage these things? And a good example is during the campaign or closer to the election, there was news that Obasanjo authorized or sort of alerted the comptroller of the customs to, or immigration to sort of turn away about how many vehicles, about 62 vehicles carrying individuals from other neighboring countries into Nigeria. And we know that these guys can easily come and vote in the north. Not to say that that still didn't happen, even with all those people that were turned away. But for these people to, easily get access into Nigeria, not carrying any luggage or whatever, they just come in, they just walk in. Now, I know for a fact that there are people from, I think either Niger or something, that work in the construction industry in Nigeria. They do all these tiling, all these screeding. They are very good at it. They go back to their place and come back. I don't know which means they go. Maybe they go by road and declare themselves or show their travel permits or whatever. But what I'm trying to say is that Nigerian borders are very porous, extremely porous. And because of that, there's no agency that gives account of anything. I think I saw a comment on a post that I really screenshotted and shared on my social handles where somebody was asking, when are we going to start having accountability? Say, for example, a tenure just finished. We just have a new government coming into place. We expect that, supposedly the security agency is supposed to come out and give us account of what they've done in the last 8 years. Say, for example, EFCC boss and come and tell us all the ongoing cases, closed cases, won cases, properties that are recovered. I mean, Buhari just declared how much he has now and how many properties he has now according to law. He's supposed to declare before and after, and he just declared. Whether people pay attention to this, I don't even know. Our ICPC, have they come to disclose how many investigations they've done, how many cases they've won, how many arrests they've done? We need to have a sort of accountability. And in the same hand, we need to have customs come and tell us how many goods they've impounded, how many cocaine they've confiscated, how many of them they've resold to make profit or destroyed. We know they had one big bust in Lagos, closer to the election, but after that, we don't know what happens after that. So we need to sort of, with investigation, obviously. So we need to sort of look into these things, right? The thing with government is that government is a system. And what is a system? A system is multiple things working together. That's what a system is. If you take an example, the human body system, you talk about the digestive system, you talk about your tongue, your mouth, your intestine, your large intestine, your stomach, all the way to your anus. That's the whole system. If you talk about your respiratory system, you talk about, your nose, your nostrils, your diaphragm, your lungs, and all of that. So when you talk about a system, government system now, if you talk about the transportation system, you talk about railway, you talk about road, you talk about waterways, you talk about all of that, air. Now you talk about the security system, you have to talk about the customs and borders. How do we control people coming in and coming out? Do we have foreign nationals have their passport on them? Like you do elsewhere. When Nigerians travel elsewhere, they have to carry their passport on them. So when you are stopped and you're asked, who are you? You can identify yourself. I don't know if we have all these systems in place. There are things like national identity card, which you used to have, but is national identity card carried on you, on oneself, or is it just religion? Is it just language that makes people show who they are? For example, if you're in Igbo land, you speak Igbo, you're okay identified as a Nigerian. If you're in Yoruba land, you speak Yoruba, you're identified as a Yoruba. If you're in Hausa land, you speak Hausa, you're identified as a Nigerian. Now, it's very important to understand that there are a lot of Hausa-speaking people in Africa that can easily come into Nigeria and blend. So you wouldn't know originally where they are from. In fact, we're hearing now that Buhari's parents are from Niger. We're hearing that Tinubu is not even from Nigeria. So why is there very ease of movement in terms of people coming into Nigeria, living in Nigeria, owning business in Nigeria, knowing fully well where they come from, by the way. And when they commit crime, they can easily get lost for as long as they want and come back whenever they feel like it's safe to do so. Yoruba is a very global language. It's not something you speak only in Lagos or in the southwest of Nigeria. They speak Yoruba in Cuba. They speak Yoruba in a lot of Caribbean islands, where the slave masters took most of our people to. Igbo language, of course, is spoken to in places like Uganda, Ethiopia, and all of that. So there is ease of blend when people sort of migrate to Nigeria. Just like people speak English, they can come to the UK and stay. But you don't just because you speak English come to the UK and start getting access to every services. No. You have to prove who you are. You have to be documented. So that's what I'm getting to. How much are we documenting people? This has to be do with immigration. But why I'm relating it to this custom and border is purely because of how they come. How do they walk in? How easy is it for you to transport yourself into Nigeria? We don't have accountability of these things. Nobody tells us. We don't even know our statistics. We keep calling ourselves 200 million people when we know we are probably more than 200 or even more than 250. I'm not talking about those in diaspora. I'm talking about those in Nigeria. When you look at all these issues, you sort of want a change, and what would that change be? What would you likely want that change to be? We want that change to be accountability. Maybe people should be asked to carry their national identity so people can be deported. Where already Nigeria has a lot of issues. So if you have an influx of people in Nigeria that are not accounted for, I mean, even in Ghana, they send Nigerians away. The whole Ghana must go we did back in the day, now they are doing it back to Nigerians. So Nigerians, if you want to own a business, you have to be properly documented. And that's why they are sending some of our people back. Okay? Because they have that system. So in Nigeria, why do we allow people to just come, do all these, maybe menial jobs, of course, maybe like hand-working jobs or handy jobs, but at the same time, they are eating off the system. They are part of the economy. So we have to checkmate all these things. And the most important thing is that we have to make our borders work. Right? Vehicles should not just carry human beings on big trucks and bring them in, unaccounted for. And that's why we have a lot of crimes. I mean, there was a movie / a documentary that I watched on Netflix. And it was telling the story of a young boy that was part of those people that were, smuggled through the Nigerian border from other African countries. So you have these young children taken away from their parents, brought to Lagos, and some of them go to servitude and, to go and do things like housemaids and handboys and houseboys and stuff like that. So we need to do all these checks. Otherwise, it's going to be part of the problem. And as well as we are doing the on-land, human migration and immigration, we need to also look at the waterways, which now touches on the oil theft. How do we account? Of course, the Navy is now involved, the military are involved, the government are heavily involved, but if we're supposed to have a true reflection of what is really going on, we need to have accountability. Maybe publish the names of those people in office so the whole world will know them. Name and shame them when things like all this oil theft happen. Let's know when is their regime. Let's know those who are in the hierarchy at the top. Let's know exactly what is happening. Let's be transparent enough. You see, a lot of questions are now popping up with this whole subsidy because people are just getting to know that for years, there's nothing like subsidy. Practically, nobody is paying nothing. But in theory, we are being told that we are wasting 7 trillion, not billion, trillion. 7 trillion a year, on subsidy, whereas NNPC is claiming that they've not received any check. So exactly who is getting this money, who is paying this money, and what is happening? At the same time, NNPC have not been remitting money to the state governments. So this is why Serap has now sued or taken what? I don't know how to put it. They are asking the new president, Tinubu, to look into, to investigate the last 8 years of subsidy. And Nigerian Labour Congress is saying, exactly who is receiving this subsidy? Why are you making the lives of Nigerians tough? Let's understand these things. And the reason these things are popping up is because of the whole revelation, with what is going on by taking subsidy away. The so-called subsidy making the life of people so much hard. Why are we as an oil-producing country having to suffer so much? Why are we the only country that produces oil in the whole world that does not have even one single refinery? Why do we have to buy products that we have? When we have direct sale, direct purchase, why are we now spending so much to sort of buy the same product? Now, I need to make things clear because I've been watching a lot of lives and I'm seeing people coming to defend the government on this matter. what is usually declared by government is not usually what is obtainable or what is the truth. So if they tell you that you have 1 million barrels being drilled a day, there's high chances that those are lies. The point is that a lot of guys that work onshore and even offshore, the guys that work in the oil industry, have said it, that how much does a barrel or a vessel carry? How many metric tons can a vessel carry? If a vessel can carry so much metric tons, why do we say it's only 1 million barrels that we produce in a day? Do they stop drilling at any particular point in the day? No. And again, how many oil rigs are we talking about? How many companies are actively drilling in Nigeria? So when we say we are drilling 1 million barrels, are we talking about just Shell or BP or combination of Shell and BP and ExxonMobil and Chevron and all of the rest? Are we also including the land rigs, the oil rigs owned by individuals? Are we talking about how much is coming into the flow stations where, of course, they are being shipped out? So when you talk about all this, you see there is more that is desired. There is more transparency and truth that needs to be told, especially now that is affecting directly the price of every commodity and every single Nigerian. And the attitude that you are targeting the rich people are wrong. The people that are suffering from this are the poor. It is the poor that are using all these old cars that take a lot of volume of fuel because of the nature and age of the engines. All these newer cars that the elitists drive, they have fuel efficiency. They don't even, the technologies, of course, newer cars, the technology is to consume as little and less fuel as possible. And some of them are even hybrid, So you're not targeting the rich people when you remove subsidy, I'm sorry to say. Yes, everybody is paying for fuel, but you have to always look at, of course, the people that are supposed to be protected. In terms of the law and government, you are not protecting the rich. You're always looking out for the poor. And that's why a lot of good governments of developed world always tax the rich people more, of course, to benefit the poor. That's why you have welfare facilities and welfare schemes. Now, going back to the point, we must understand that if we neglect the poor, it's going to hurt us real bad. There's going to be more crime, about 62 people killed, and we're talking about less than 3, 4, 5 days in office of Tinubu. His numbers have already started skyrocketing. So we need to, swim into actions. And one of the ways to curb this is not to hike the price of fuel. When there's hardship in the land, there's more, because you have to think about it is, what are people going to do to survive? What options do they have? They can't walk into a bank. They can't ask for a loan. We don't have a credit system. Are you going to beg? Are you going to starve? So that's why people turn to, brainwashed ideas and do things that are very extreme. So we need to look at a way to curb. The most important goal of government is to protect lives and properties. And the best way to do that is to make their livelihood, better, not to make it worse. So Tinubu needs to do the best he can, and I believe we need to look into our custom and borders. When the custom and borders officials are very corrupt and they work in hand in hand with people like Navy and police and all these things, allowing these people to come in droves into Nigeria from the borders, and even Nigerians that go elsewhere to do business and bring illicit products in that are not accounted for. We know there's a lot of contrabands, but you still see these contrabands in the market. So how are they coming in? What's the chain of business? So we need to understand these things and start curbing it. Nigeria getting better has to be a unified work. It needs to be like everybody working together. All hands must be on deck. It's not something that is left for one person. Every part of government needs to be up and doing. Because if we don't do that, you find out that one person might be working so hard, but then there's a lot of porosity in other sector or in other arm of government or other parastatals or other security outfits, and there will be chances that these criminals will move their activities that way. You need to understand that people want to survival of the fittest. So you see that you make it a level playing field, so everybody will work hard and make money, or some people will just try and steal the show because of the number of risk or the high level of risk they can commit. So that said, we need to please make sure we put transparent people in office. Our custom bosses, our high custom officers need to be people of high repute. Even in our wharfs, so when containers come in through the ship, who are those people that are in the wharf. I mean, the modus operandi now is if you have 7 million, they release your containers for you. If you want to pay only the official rate, you pay the official rate, and they might probe you to checks. And they're not checking because they want to find something. They're checking because they want to suffer you for not giving them what they've asked. And sometimes they break your wares if you're into toiletries or if you're into things like breakables. They will just damage your wares. So people then, out of fear of getting their goods destroyed in terms of because they are claiming they are doing searches, they just pay the money, and they are very high high expenses, and they have to add this to the cost of the goods, and that's why things are extremely expensive for people who are trying to build houses and stuff. Just giving one example. So we have to think about, Nigerians naturally are very corrupt. I mean, talk about the average Nigerian is thinking about, ways to rip the next man off. And, I mean, most of us that are talking out of the Nigerian system, we're already abroad. And that's why we are even talking the way we are sounding. When you are in Nigeria, you're not even thinking about government. You just want to survive. You're thinking about how your day is going to benefit you, how you're going to go through your day, because the hardship is real. But then people that are talking are people who are actually living in synagogues, who have a good job, who have a better life. Then they have time to even discuss these things. And that's why you hear a lot of people talking. Shout out to those who are still in Nigeria, who still have the guts and the effrontery to start talking as well. And it's good. Everybody has to put mouth in this issue. We need to discuss politics, because otherwise, if we leave it, who are we going to leave it for? These guys won't care. They won't change if we don't ask them to, or if we don't show interest. So that's why it is good we start having all these conversations, discussing it, whether you're in Nigeria, anywhere. Gather the momentum and keep talking. We are following the cases in the court with P2B. We are hoping that the judiciary will do the right thing and give P2B his rightful mandate, because that's the one we believe in. That's what we have our hopes in. Now, going back to the point I'm trying to make. There was something I didn't address yesterday or the day before when I was talking about what Mr. Farana said. I said I agree that we shouldn't have dollar in our system at all. It helps to kill our economy. The other thing I said I didn't agree with him is brisk. Although I've discussed this in different life, but I want to re-emphasize it. We are owing IMF, which is an American company, or the Western world company. Well, should I call them company? You know what IMF is? International Monetary Fund. They give loans to countries, right? Now we're owing them a lot of money, right? All these monies that we're owing them, we have to pay back. Now we're owing excess of 70-something trillion. That's a lot of money. So in the middle of owing these people money, you can't just go and say you're joining brisk. And of course, the Ukraine war and the Russian war, of course, they have two sides. So Ukraine is on the side with the West and NATO, and then Russia is on the other side with BRISC. So you have the Brazil, you have, so BRISC stands for Brazil, Russia, India, South Africa, which other one? China, right? And then the other nations that have joined them as well, a lot of Arab countries, or anybody that sees themselves as America's enemy. So, of course, it's sensible not to dollarize your economy, but then we can't take that step now because we are owing a lot of money. And I've tried to explain it before. If you borrow money from the bank and you don't like the bank because the way they hike your interest rates, the best thing to do is to, pay back all the debts. So let's brisk nation are going to borrow Nigeria 70-something trillion to go and pay back the IMF or pay back the West. If we pay that back, then we can comfortably come and sit with them. But you can't owe America money and then come and join brisk. It's going to be self-detrimental. They're going to say to you, okay, and America can mess you up. They can mess you up real good. Because everything we use, we rely a lot in America, on America. Services, banking system, everything. Economy-wise, social media, entertainment, a lot of things we bank on America, to run our economy. So you cannot come and say you want to remove dollar from, the economics or how, you guys do your bilateral trades. So if we want to join BRISC, of course, it's a welcome development, but it's just starting. Allow it to grow. And at the same time, we need to find ways to raise our revenue, kill corruption in our system, allow production to increase. Of course, welcome development if Dangote comes on stream, and see if Warri can come on stream, and Port Harcourt refineries and Kaduna refineries can come on stream. When things get better with a good working government in power, we can pay this money back. I mean, Obasanjo did it before, single-handedly, so we could do that again. Of course, Obasanjo did it with Okonjo-Iweala. Okonjo-Iweala is still there in terms of world Trade Organization. She's still top there. So of course we can use our services again if we have a good transparent government, to help pay all this back. And then when we finish paying that back, only then can we go and join the brisk. Because then it makes sense. If you owe me money, I'm charging you a lot of interest. You pay me back first. When you pay me back, you say, okay, listen, thank you for doing business. I don't want to continue this business with you. I found a cheaper alternative elsewhere. Then you go and join brisk. It's very simple. We have good relationship with Russia. We have good relationship with China. We have good relationship with UK, America, and otherwise. So there's no problem with who we do business with, but we have to make sure we pay our debts. If we go and jump on brisk with all these debts, they're going to mess us up. They can even increase our interest to 50%, and we have to pay because we're owing anyway. So they will run. It's like a bank. You that are borrowing, of course, it's an agreement, yes, but in that agreement, there's only a caveat that they can increase it. So I'll say let Nigeria's, pipe low where they are now. Just stay with America, stay with the West. Of course, we're not choosing side with the whole war thing. Stay away from it because we have a lot of issues that we have to solve internally. And the worst thing we want to have now is to have some diplomatic breakdown or have some foreign issues or foreign policy issues to deal with. So my advice, and I strongly believe in this, stay with America for now. A lot of Nigerians are living in America and UK than they are living anywhere in the East. But then at the same time, allow fight to pay back all the money we're owing. Even the one we're owing China, pay all of them back. Then when we pay all of them back, then we'll look at the market. Okay, a lot of people are going to do business directly with countries without using the dollar necessarily, and I think that's a very good way to go. Then go and do business there. But of course, go there with zero baggage or debt. So that said, going back to what we are trying to say, how do we raise the money? That's what we're discussing. There's no money in the system. NNPC have gone to limited company. Dangote Refineries is saying it's going to sell at international price. We don't understand what subsidy removal means. We don't understand why NNPC is saying they're not receiving subsidy anyway from Buhari since 2022. So there's a lot of questions unanswered. There's a lot of blank forms that needs to be filled. So we need to understand all these things, understand where the 7 trillion has been going to, who has been paying to, who has not been very honest enough. If an arrest needs to be made, let it be made. And again, the Senate especially have to, because they are the ones that have power of oversight, calling the military, calling the Navy, calling the customs, let them come and explain these things. If you're not satisfied with it, let heads roll, get rid of people who needs to go. You can't have incompetent and corrupt people running government politics or running, the infrastructure of the country, because that's how the country's wealth, comes in. We need to understand what is happening. Tom Polo has done his best. They've burnt a lot of vessels. They've discovered some sites where they do all these illegal refineries and stuff. We need to do more. We need to do more. Nigeria is so porous. People come in from waterways, people come in from air, people come in. We don't even know how all these things, work. It's like somebody was telling me, even security, countries, special forces come into Nigeria and take their people or extract their people, and Nigeria don't even know what is going on. When Boko Haram holds anybody from, foreign countries, the special forces come and take the people without Nigeria even knowing. I mean, the last one we knew was the one that Trump authorized for Navy SEAL to come and, extract an American that was held in captivity. But then, apart from that, we need to give account of what else is happening on land, what is happening on water, and that way control exactly what is going on, And we need to tally what is being reported. Right now, what Ministry of Finance is saying is not tallying with what NNPC is saying. It's not also tallying with what CBN is saying. And at some point, there was even confusion between Ministry of Finance and CBN in terms of who has the jurisdiction to deal with a lot of issues like the Naira redesign and who has the right to authorize the redesign of Naira. So all this confusion, we need to get people individually and collectively come in and explain to the Senate. Senate need to set committees and discuss these things. Let's understand exactly what's going on. And if anybody's account is not, making sense, get rid of them. If you don't have that name and shame and strong hand approach to all these things, things will continue to go wrong in Nigeria. I'm sorry to say. But we are tired of all this. We need to sort of start telling ourselves the truth. We need to start doing the right thing. Other than that, we just have to keep suffering and suffering and suffering. So I'm calling on the president, send this to any politicians you know. Let's see if this can get to the hand of the president or get to the ears of the president. We need to do better. Our custom is so porous. Contraband goods are still coming in, illegal goods are still coming in, and all these things have an direct effect on the economy, right? Our oil are being exported, being sold in African countries. This has been, even confirmed by Melekiari in his last broadcast on the TV. So we need to work, together. There should be a synergy between the custom, the Navy, the police, and all of this. There should be one control system. I've also mentioned that the security structure of Nigeria is rubbish. There is no cohesion, there is no coordination. There should be a very simple but very extremely robust. The intelligence is supposed to be feeding the police and the military, and every other security apparatus should be divided inside the police and army. They should all share the same infrastructure and outfit. Communication should be very clear. Line of communication should be very, very understandable. Hierarchy of communication should be very, very clear to everybody, right? There should just be external and internal, military and police, right? And that should be coordinated very effectively. If we don't do these things, we keep wasting our time calling ourselves Nigerians, where of course everybody don't even want to confirm that or even want to attest to the fact that they are Nigerians. There's no patriotism because nothing is working. The system keeps breaking down every day. And these are things that were in place before. There was a time we said Ghana must go, we packed every Ghanaian and sent them back. There was a time Nigeria was like revered, giant of Africa for a reason. There was a time, people wanted to come and live in Nigeria. People wanted to come and stay and work. There was a time things were working. There was a time waterways were working. I saw the nature of the water, what do you call it? Water stations that Peter Mba went to view in Enugu, the old existing ones. You saw the nature of them. Some of them are very rusty. Where would the man start? You have to build a brand new of everything, So these are because things have been depleted. A lot of things have been left to rot. So we need to understand that if our forefathers and our heroes past have managed to build all these things and kept them in place, how then do we allow this past generation that are the most useless generation of Nigeria, to be honest, to rubbish all these things, every of their efforts? Our airways are laughing stock. We borrow planes to repaint and send it back to Ethiopia. Our railways are just, again, another laughing stock. You look at our waterways, nothing to write home about after 60 years. So Nigeria is like, we need to sort of look ourselves in the eye and tell ourselves we failed. We're a failed state. Now, how do we start getting this right? How do we start getting our night posts, postal services back up? How do we start getting our waterways back up? How do we start getting our railways back up? There should be railway all across Nigeria. Nigeria has a lot of people. When you transport these people, logistics and, give money to the system. Now, postal services can put money into the system. Airways can put money to the system. So all these things that we're missing out on is detrimental on us. The custom and border, control should be top notch. We should be able to use technologies, know who is coming in, and then we need to centralize the data of Nigerians. We need to know what we are using. If we are using national identity card, use national identity card. If you're using BVN, use BVN. If you're using passport, use passport. Let everybody know we're using one particular thing. Not have voters card, have BVN, have NIN, have passport, have all these series of things that are being run by different agencies and nobody wants to use it to work for the greater good of the country. So we need all these things to be able to work for us to have a country that we can be proud of. And sincerely speaking, I doubt if Tinubu is the man to get us there. I know he's the president, but I really doubt on his I doubt on his ability to get us there. But at the same time, whilst he's still president, we need to be saying these things, and hopefully probably gets to his ears, and it's somebody has to take action, even if it's not him directly. We have Bajamila. I think Bajamila is an intelligent guy. I don't know about his integrity. I don't know about his transparency. He's a rubber stamp, senator, as we know, or House of Rep speaker. But at the same time, I think he's a smart guy. He weighed in during the ASU strike. So let's see if he's going to do any better being chief of staff. We're still waiting for more nominations and appointments. Secretary of Federation, I don't know much about him, former Gombe State Governor. But then let's see. But these things are things that we need to look into. There's supposed to be a lot of reshuffle, like let's say getting people out and getting more better people in terms of our custom officials, high ranking, and in the ranks and file of the security apparatus. We need to change people. We need to get new people in, people of highly, even if you have to allow them to vote who is the best amongst themselves. Sometimes that's the best way to appoint people. Let them do a secret ballot in the Navy, in the custom. Let them choose who should be the leader, and you'll be surprised. They might choose one of them that everybody knows stands for the truth. Instead of you just coming in and asking questions and choosing, okay, this person they say is good, and then at the end of the day they will not be what they are to be, but they will just favor those that voted for them. So we need to do the right thing. Control our borders, and in turn control our oil theft. In fact, eradicate oil theft, and show more accountability in terms of how much we are losing in terms of or how much we are giving out in terms of multinationals in Nigeria that got into agreement. If they're taking 60-40, making sure that the 40 they're giving us back is being utilized for the right purpose or the right reason. The issue of subsidy is still a mystery we are trying to unveil. The government have to be transparent, and this new government is supposed to give the people that they feel that they're not part of this crime. We know Tinubu gave Dangote the free trade zone where Dangote built his refinery, so I don't think he's not part of it. I think he's part of the cabal. But at the same time, we want to see what his body language is. If his wife said they've made so much money, they're not interested in Nigerian money, let's see. Show us, prove it to us. Because Nigeria is turning into a heavily capitalistic system where only the rich will keep getting richer and the poor will just keep getting poorer. We need to bring back our microfinance banks. We need to start helping, empowering our young people, empowering our farmers, and using agriculture to go into even agro business as a country as well. Go into massive production. Additional and APC keep saying that our GDP oil makes less than 10%. If oil makes less than 10%, and we're now exporting granite and cashew, let's know how much is the volume. Let's know how much is coming in. Let's know how these monies are being utilized. Where is these farms? Where are they getting all these crops from? Can more farmers get on board? Can people ship their cashew? How is government schemes run? How do people get paid if they are willing to sort of go into this agriculture? Because then when you have all this synergy between the public and partnership, what they call public partnership, private partnership, then people can know, okay, if I'm able to grow plantain in this scale, okay, I can sell it to the government and government can export it. We need to discuss these things. We need to be transparent about it so that Nigerians can work and know, okay, I'm going to get reward for what I'm doing. And not just one section of the country. You can't just focus on the north. Allow the south to get involved with all these affairs. And that way we can get things done. So that is all for today. Till next time, please comment, like, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and let's know how you feel. If you have any ideas, please send it to any of your family members or friends that are in politics, and let this thing get to their head. Because sometimes I wonder if they actually have good advisors. So that's what we need to do. We need to change the rank and file in the custom and border services. Make sure that whoever is coming into Nigeria has been accounted for. People should be able to have IDs on them, not just because of language. Because anybody can speak Hausa, anybody can speak Fulani. So many Fulanis in Africa that are not Nigerians. There's so many Yoruba people that are not, from the southwest. There's so many Igbo people, Igbo speaking. Anybody can speak language. We even see Igbo people speaking our local languages, speaking Pidgin very well. So Nigeria needs to account for these people. Those people who are coming and working should pay taxes. Just the same way we are subjected to paying taxes when we come to Europe. We even spend a lot of money on visa and stuff like that. So we need to do the same. Be accountable for all these people that are coming in, but at the same time, make them accountable for paying taxes and every money they're earning, and government can, get more revenue through that. But again, first of all, our security apparatus need to be top notch. They need to know what they're doing. So thank you so much, and I'm going to stop here for now. Bye, till next time.